As the cost of living continues to rise in the United States, people are finding it more and more difficult to make ends meet. And older Americans are feeling it more than most.
And as Paul Solman reports, that's forcing many retirees to unretire.
How you doing?
71-year-old Christine drinks. The first face folks see at a veteran support group just outside Atlanta.
Did you ever expect to be working at this age?
No. Absolutely not.
Never even thought of it?
No, not at all.
Do you feel put upon that you have to work?
Yes.
You think it's unfair?
It is, most definitely. I mean, you work all your life, so this is what you look forward to, retirement, and you're thinking that you're going to be okay. You had called and needed help with...
Drinks retired in Maryland a couple of years ago to come down to Georgia to care for her 96-year-old mom.
From back in my mom's day, you were okay, because they got to retire at a very early age, and they got to retire and enjoy their life. That's not like that anymore. It's just too much with the price of everything. It's very, very difficult out here for elderly people, and it's really sad that we were put in that boat, but that's where we are.
Her Social Security doesn't cover the new cost of living, so I asked,
do you have savings?
Yes.
Are you drawing it down?
Yes. Oh, am I?
How long before it goes away?
I don't know. I'm trying to, curtail the best I can. Trying.
For the elderly, as for most unretirees, financial insecurity is the driver, though folks also return to work for so-called good reasons, like a sense of purpose. But mainly...
Right now, when it's hard to find a job, when you have high inflation, you're going to tend to see people unretire for the bad reasons.
Moreover, says economist Jeffrey Sanzenbacher,
people who have to unretire for economic reasons can be a lot less choosy. So they're going to come back to whatever they can find, and they're probably going to make less than they did before, and probably not because they're taking a job they like more.
Stories of older Americans working? All the rage online, like 78-year-old food delivery driver Richard Pulley. He came out of retirement when his wife lost her job in an economy with inflation at its highest rate since April 2023.
I have cut down on buying for anything at all that is not really necessary, like basic things, food, hygiene, cleaning items.
Orlando-based Myrna Colombo feels the economic pressure too. Unretired at age 63, now working as a nurse's aide, she makes between $12 and $16 an hour. When do you think you'll be able to retire? For real?
I don't see it. Number one, I have to be very realistic at the current status. I don't see it.
Ever?
No, I do not see it. I had to go back to work because of medical expenses, bills.
Same for Richard Lubinsky in northern Florida, an environmental administrator now making $75,000 a year.
Health insurance was pretty expensive, and my wife and I both definitely need insurance. We've got chronic conditions that require regular care. My father-in-law's health declined, and we spent a considerable amount of money in his end-of-life care. So by the time, after all of that, most of my retirement savings was gone. So I started looking for work.
More than half of Americans say they can't afford medications and needed health care, a 5-year low, even though Americans have been retiring later.
There was a long trend towards earlier and earlier retirements as people had pensions and as Social Security came online, and that started to flip in the 90s, and so we've seen about a 2-year increase since the turn of the century.
But landing a job for retirees returning to work? No piece of cake.
It took me over 2 years. Jobs look at you like you don't have a whole lot of life left for me to hire you.
The unretirement rate actually peaked in 2022, in part because of a strong job market post-pandemic. But, says the economist, compared to so much of the recent past,
now we have a rising cost of living and not necessarily as many job openings. And that's what's going to be something I'm really keeping an eye on is, can people unretire even if they want to? Back then, they wanted to, they could.
Our final unretiree, 80-year-old Anita Sawyer, a $7.25 an hour receptionist at the courthouse in Cuthbert, Georgia.
I was working at a sewing factory up in Cuthbert. Made curtains, bedspreads.
After the factory closed,
I've done different things. Really retired in 2005.
Why did you go back to work?
Because I needed the money. I needed that extra money to survive on.
What would you do to the house, for example, if you had more money?
I'd have a lot of done stuff like my bathroom and my kitchen. I would like to be able to go somewhere for a couple of days just to get away, just to have a fun day, or just to get out.
But you're not thinking of going to like Italy or something?
No. I don't want to go over there. No.
What about another state?
Well, Alabama.
That's it.
Okay.
back in northern Georgia, I asked Christine Drinks to sum up.
A lot of people want to be just retired, but they can't. And I know people who are doing some really strenuous jobs, like in the factory, doing things that they haven't done before.
How hard is it on them physically?
They go to work, and when they come home from work, they fix their dinner and they go to bed. And then they're up in the morning doing the same thing all over, 5 days a week.
Drinks consoles one elderly friend in particular.
What does she say to you on the phone when you talk?
She cries a lot.
Crying about the fact that she has to work in a factory?
Yeah, that she's really upset. She's exhausted. So, you know, we talk, and I try to pep her up. And because, honey, I said, you're not the only one. There's a lot of people going through this.
And more every day, it seems, in what's becoming a cliche, an America harder and harder for so many to afford. For the PBS News Hour, Paul Solman.
Support journalism you trust. Support PBS News. Donate now, or even better, start a monthly contribution today.